This emergency room redesign was originally focused on saving money. However, the same concept is used to isolate coronavirus patients and other epidemics. Patients that are part of an epidemic need to be separated in order to reduce the spread of disease. During times when there is no epidemic, then separate out the 72% of the emergency room patients that do not have an emergency. Currently, hospitals run all emergency patients through the same process, whether they don't have an emergency or are part of an epidemic. Wouldn't hospitals operate more effectively if they separated those two groups from the general population? That is exactly what this innovation does. This innovation not only saves money, but can draw upon a lot of already existing capability, such as the existing emergency room space. The emergency room for the future will focus on efficiency and the ability to adapt a second emergency room to the prevailing needs at lowered cost. This is done by building a second emergency room that is altered for use based on the prevailing need. Let's take a look at the high-level architecture. Let me walk you through this design. All patients enter the emergency room through the front door. Then they form a line and talk to admittance. This is the first stage of triage. The admittance person has a capability to determine if the patient is part of an epidemic population during epidemics or a non-emergency patient during normal times. They will take those two groups and point them to ER2. ER2 exists in one of two configurations. Normally, it would be staffed with physician assistants and doctors where needed to tend to the non-emergency patients. The second configuration contains more specialists used to assess the state of epidemic patients. The admittance team sends the remaining emergency room patients with real emergencies to triage 2 as normal. It's important to separate patients based on their contagiousness as well as their load on emergency room services. Innovation is important and is something that will help hospitals in the future. There are innovation methodologies that exist that work very well for your hospital. You can't predict epidemics, but you can prepare for them. The next step is to execute, and making these modifications should be done relatively quickly and inexpensively. And lastly, save money. It makes sense to deliver the right level of medical care to the need for medical care. That's what this new emergency room design does. I'm Jim Fitzgerald, a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, an expert on the Toyota production system, and an innovator. I will guide you on this journey as well as bring the expertise of the Toyota production system to your hospital.